After leaving on the blue bus tours, Monty stopped keeping the daily diary of Mara's movements. Instead, she and Katie sat together and jotted down where they had gone, times of arrival and departure, what Baba had said, and so on. And then there's in the sidebar there. Most quotations of Baba from this time are taken from Mani's diaries. Oh, both young women were only a year apart in age and became lifelong friends. But Katie was reluctant to speak with Mara. Interesting. Oh. Uh, oh, and this is Katie speaking. I knew Mara was someone special, and I didn't want to disturb her in any way, said Katie. Mara was very quiet then. She didn't mix much with everybody or talk with anybody. Only when we talked would she respond. Otherwise, she was very, very quiet. She did Baba's work and was engrossed in him. Well, I will testify to that with sitting on the porch with her. She was working, engrossed in Baba. Okay, and then it says, Mara's love for Baba was something unique. And this is Katie also. Katie Arani talking. We always had equal respect for Mara as we did for Baba. We never wanted to displease her in any way. But Baba told Katie, talk with Mara, be with her, and gradually she did. Perhaps to facilitate this, Baba gave Katie his vessels to clean. That sounds so important, his vessels, right? After washing them, Katie gave them to Mara to cook with, but with only cold water and ashes to use. It was difficult to remove all the grease. There was not enough water, and the pots would not come completely clean. Baba called Katie once and said the vessels were not clean enough. Baba used the analogy of washing dishes to explain to Norina about how the good sanskaras of generosity, love, and peace must overlap the bad sanskaras of greed, anger, and lust for both to disappear in God realization. Wow. A dish is dirty. You take soap and water and overlap the dirt with soap, then in washing it, both disappear. Here, the water is you. You are always present in the process of overlapping. The Indian way of cleaning a dish full of grease is with mud. It works. Huh? Without water, it will come clean. Both grease and mud disappear. In the overlapping of opposites, mud is the most greaseless thing, therefore opposite. The object is for both to disappear and attain a good clean dish. A clean dish. When good sanskaras overlap the bad and bad sanskaras overlap the good, then both disappear and your mind is a clean slate with nothing written on it. All is wiped out, wiped off. With the Man Mandali too, Baba used such domestic analogies to describe his work. To Jal Karawala, a devoted Baba lover and a close friend of the Jesawalas, he said, as a laundryman washes and cleanses clothes in the same way, I remove all the dirt which is stuck to you through your thoughts and actions. About his rapid, intense method of giving darshan to the masses, he told Chanji, "Only in this hurried atmosphere is my work done, especially the work of cleaning and sweeping of impressions." And of course, in his work with the must, Baba was their mother, bathing, feeding, and caring for their every need. The Mandali were allowed to help in this. Can you give me more words, Tina? Another page. Okay, can you lower it a little bit? Okay. As a laundryman washes and cleans clothes, in the same way I remove all the dirt which is stuck to you through your thoughts and actions. About his rapid, intense method of giving darshan to the masses, he told Chanji, "Only in this hurried atmosphere is my work done, especially the work of cleaning and sweeping of impressions." And of course, in his work with the must, Baba was their mother, bathing, feeding, and caring for their every need. The Mandali were allowed to help in this, but they had to be careful not to upset the must moods as it interfered with Baba's work. Likewise, the women had to be careful about Mehera, even on the tour. She was kept aloof from the others and given special consideration. Mani and Khorshid were always to be with her, no matter where they were, and later Carmen Masi filled in whenever Mani or Khorshid was in the bath. So she had to go to the bathroom. They were right outside. Kitty and Rana were instructed to be extra vigilant about guarding Mehera while traveling. You want to give me more words, Tina? On trips, Baba was 100% more careful. Kitty recounted, daytime as well as nighttime, doors all locked, etc. And they were not unlocked until Baba appeared from his quarters in the morning. Baba himself approved Mehera and Mani's bedroom and saw that everything was arranged before leaving. He left other bedrooms to others' choices, except perhaps when we were a bit selfish about it, and he would give those who were not so well the better quarters. Baba never missed anything. Traveling with Baba and Mehera, both Rano and I, this is still Katie, held but one thought, which was to obey Baba's order not to leave either side of Mehera unprotected. No man must bump into her accidentally. This order was most strict. Mehera also had to keep her eyes down. We had to inform her when to look down and when to look up. But Mehera was always most cooperative and never under any circumstances would she ever disobey Baba. She was absolutely obedient, and we had nothing to worry about in that respect. She helped Baba in every way she could not to fall into that error. Baba never said why he didn't want her to bump into a man, but we could guess that. Being the purest of the pure, Baba didn't want her in any way to be awakened to the other side of human life. She was to love him just for himself, for the sake of love only. Oh, beautiful. Wow. Later, when Duncan joined them from England and helped Elizabeth with the driving of the blue bus, Baba sat in front with them, and a curtain was hung so that if Baba wanted to communicate with Mehera, Kitty continued, he could draw the curtain aside so that Don or whoever was there couldn't see Mehera. Baba made sure all the men were out of the way whenever Mehera entered the bus. She would come in with Mani. This procedure was very strict. Ranu and I, again, were responsible. No chance even for Mehera to see the Mandali face to face. Leaving Benares on 23rd January, the group proceeded to Agra via Kanpur, where they spent the night in a hotel. Chandji had rented a private house in Agra, and here they stayed for a week and visited local places of interest. At 8 a.m. on the 26th, Baba took them to see the Taj Mahal and the Juma. Let's see. I want to print. Okay. The Juma Masjid, and in the afternoon to the Agra Fort. The Agra Fort is an enormous red sandstone structure. Inside is Shah Jahan's beautiful marble Moti Masjid, known as the Pearl Mosque for its perfect proportions. To the north of the palace quarters, bordering the garden, are additional rooms, including a marble pillared hall decorated with profuse inlay. Baba took the woman to see these and the Shish Mahal close by, which has hundreds of tiny mirrors embedded in stucco decorations in intricate floral geometrical designs. Baba again reminded them, all this is a big zero, a dream. Only I am real, so don't forget while looking at all these wonderful places to see me in this zero. I guess I should read the sidebar now. Mani related that while they were standing under the dome of the Taj Mahal, suddenly Nadine, who had such a good voice, she could have been a professional opera singer, began the Bujawainar arti. That's the Gujarati arti. I still remember it. Mani recalled. The words went up and something came down. It was amazing. It just entered you. Wow. On 28th January, they visited locations associated with Lord Krishna, Mathura, Gokul, Vrindavan. Wherever they went, Baba sent his men Mandali to hunt for must for him to contact. But in Vrindavan, a young must playing a flute approached Baba and the women saying, "Here comes my Murli, the flute player. I have been waiting for you." Wow, he recognized Baba. Um, Seeing these spots, Baba felt nostalgic for his past advent. When I see these places, I remember my old habitats. They are like my old, well remembered haunts. Here was where I played with the gopis and stole milk and curds. Here I played my flute, and here my Radha would come running to me. Baba called Mehera his Radha. He declared, now I have brought my new gopis, and now Mehera is my Radha. Wow. That's why these books are so precious. Can you scroll up a little, Tina? Not so far. Wait a minute. Okay. But not everyone was paying close attention. Mehera said, Baba told Narina that Krishna was born here and was very mischievous, said Mehera. I was Krishna, he said, but the other women did not listen very carefully. In the afternoon, Baba gave a humorous twist to the outing by saying, Baba's words, we will now go to see where Krishna ate his last meal, which turned out to be the dock bungalow where they had just eaten lunch. Let's see, the sidebar. Can you scroll up a little? I'll read the sidebar.
Yeah.
The ironic part was that at many small temples, the priests would make them squat, Baba included, and ring a bell, open a curtain, and show them the idols, saying, this is, oh, it's so tiny. It's so kind of blurry.
So ring a bell, open a curtain, and show them, saying, this is
Bansiwala, Krishna the flutist. That's a name for Krishna the flutist. Little realizing they were speaking to Krishna himself. Bansiwala. And I love that. We will now go to where Krishna ate his last meal, which turned out to be the dock bungalow where they had just eaten lunch! Exclamation point. To visit a beautiful ancient temple in Mathura dedicated to Lord Krishna, Erish recalled, Baba instructed him to make arrangements with the priests so that no grown male would be present, including any of the priests. Erish talked with the high priest, who was reluctant, but agreed when Erish hinted he would be rewarded with an excellent tip. Bribery. A child was deputed to guide them early the following morning when hardly anyone else would be around. The temple was situated on a high elevation, and since it was winter, it was quite cold when they arrived. Eric saw the high priest and again warned him to keep his distance. Baba and the women climbed the steps to the temple while Eric waited near the bus. After 10 minutes or so, Eric saw Baba dragging the high priest by the nape of the neck. Oh my gosh. Despite being warned, the priest had been following them, and Baba threw him down the temple steps. The priest was not hurt, He came over and sat beside Erich, who told him he should have not done what he did. Wow. After 10 minutes or so, oh, wait, I read that. When Mara was a girl guide, she had led her troops under the banner of the hoopoe bird, considered to be symbolical of the spiritual master. And while they were in Agra, a strange incident occurred with such a bird. And the sidebar says this incident may have occurred in a temple in Vrindavan. Mani related the story. We found a hoopoe, a bird featured in the well-known spiritual allegory Conference of the Birds. The hoopoe has a crown and a tail that resembles a striped cape. It looks very regal, like a king. No wonder they selected that bird for the story. The hoopoe's leg had been broken by some child with a catapult or a stone. With a soft thread, we wound a matchstick around its leg like a splint, fed it and kept it. It got better. There was an iron bed in the house, which Baba used as a sofa. Seated there, the first thing he asked when he came to the women's side was, "How is the bird?" Flapping his arms like wings to indicate the bird. "So much better today, Baba," they said, and Baba petted it. One day, the bird stood on its leg and was able to move. The women thought to give Baba a surprise. He asked, "How is the bird?" "You'll see, Baba," they said. "You'll see." Baba sat on the bed and we stood around it. One of us brought the bird. We kept it at some distance so that it would walk around the room. Okay, you want to scroll. And Baba would see. Sure enough, the bird started hopping and stepping. More words. As far as it could in a straight line parallel to Baba. Suddenly it turned and continued hopping and walking directly to Baba's feet, where it dropped dead. We couldn't believe it. It had seemed so much better. Baba commented, "You people haven't the slightest idea how fortunate that bird is." Baba touched his forehead with his middle finger to indicate destiny or fortune. He continued and said, "It will incarnate as a human being in its next birth, but not as an ordinary human being. Perhaps one with spiritual attainment." Taking Baba's name, the women buried the bird in the compound under a tree. On their final night in Agra, 31st January, Baba took the women to see the Taj Mahal by moonlight. The next day, they traveled to Delhi, where they stayed in the Regal Hotel for a week. Chanji described their arrival at the Regal Hotel, which he had arranged. At first, Baba made a wry face at the shabby appearance of the hotel's entrance and the 2 flights of stairs to climb. But when he was shown the second floor rooms all arranged, He was pleased and approved. The flock of sheep were brought in as usual, and after they had all gone inside, arrangements for the untying of the beddings bags on top of the bus was to be handled. It practically took the Mondelez breath away to remove the 101 small packages from inside the bus, which were not to be touched by coolies. The Western group, including Nani Gailey, helped. According to Mehera, Baba liked Delhi very much, and here too, he took them sightseeing to both old and new Delhi. They saw the Qutub Minar, Jama Masjid, Lakshmi Narayan Temple, the shrine of Emperor Humayun, and Qutub Nizamuddin's shrine. And the sidebar says, the Qutub Minar was the highest structure in India at the time. Jama Masjid is India's largest mosque. About Emperor Humayun, Baba commented, he was a great soul. And then I read, let's see.
Your food's ready if you want.
And then the sidebar says, Nizamuddin was a Sufi saint or perfect master who died in 1325 at the age of 92. And okay. Oh, I see. That Qutub Nizamuddin shrine. Okay. Mehera remembered that at the Red Fort, a guide narrated the story of how, when shown the grand fort, a wise man had said, for 4 annas, a small coin, all this can be mine. He then purchased a lock for that amount and locked the main gate. Elizabeth described the Qutub Minar in the July 1939 Meher Baba journal. Outside of Delhi today, about 15 miles distant, there stands one of the most perfect of architectural columns, with 5 stories towering gracefully towards the heavens, feeling the atmosphere of the past as we gazed at the almost ethereal beauty of the Qutub Minar, the Qutub Minar. Meher Baba linked the column with the present existence by remarking that the Qutub Minar had importance today, not only in the material world, but in the subtle world. At this ancient tower, an episode took place with Mansari that she and the others never forgot. Baba and the other women began climbing the steps inside the tower, but they turned around and came down before reaching the top. It was dark inside, making it difficult to see, and Mansari had the habit of looking down while walking anyway. Somehow, Mansari passed Baba as he was coming down with the others. She climbed all the way to the top before she realized she was alone. Meanwhile, Baba and everyone else were going towards the bus. More words, please. About to leave when Baba noticed that Mansari was missing. They looked up and saw her waving from the top of the tower. Baba snapped his fingers, gesturing, "Come down immediately." I thought I had been following Baba, Mansari related. To my horror, I saw from the top that Baba was leaving for the bus. Even though I realized I was alone, now that I was at the top, I took the opportunity, more words, please. I took the opportunity to look out for a few moments.
That's
When-
beautiful, beautiful, Rosalie. But perhaps you
Yeah.
could have another reader.
Yeah, go ahead, Eugene. You want to go ahead?
Oh, let Eva go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Eugene. Am I starting on, I thought I had been following Baba? Is that where I'm starting?
Yes.
That's good.
Okay, okay. I thought I had been following Baba, Mansari related. To my horror, I saw from the top that Baba was leaving for the bus. Even though I realized I was alone, now that I was at the top, I took the opportunity to look out for a few moments. When she came down, Baba was livid and did not even speak to her. He told Mani, "Ask that mad person where she was." Mansari explained what had happened, but Baba said, "You want to be with me and say you love me. It is so difficult to be with me, so difficult to love me. The Qutub Minar has separated you from me." This was directly against the purpose of their trip, which was to be focused on Baba amidst the sights of the world, and it was a lesson for them all. When they got on the bus, Mansari's place was just behind Baba's, and he asked her, "Will you go up again?" "No, Baba," she answered. "Never do it again," he warned. Then, to break up that mood, according to Mansari, Baba smiled and inquired, "And how does it look from the top?" Mansari replied that Baba and the women looked as small as ants from such a height, and Baba seemed amused by her reply. And scroll down, please. On 4 February, Baba held a conference with the women to discuss household matters and other things, during which he indicated that at their next stop, Ajmer, he wanted to be Lord, servant, devotee, and master, all in one, both the worshiper and the worshipped, especially in the week before his birthday. "I will bow and be bowed to by different beings. Therefore, I must be free from bread, butter, and shoes," household details. Occasionally, others were allowed to join their traveling caravan, such as Pilamai, who arrived on 5 February from Karachi. Baba explained to the women about a must named Kamal Pash, contacted on 6 February. Kamal Pash is on the 5th plane and my real lover. The splendor that surrounds his dirtiness, only I can see. Worldly people think him mad, but compared, I have my doctor calling, so can someone else read?
Sure.
Eugene, you want to take over?
Oh, okay, Tina, thanks. I will bow and be bowed to by different beings. Therefore, I must be free from bread, butter, and shoes. In parentheses, household details. Occasionally others were allowed to join their traveling caravan, such as Pilamai, who arrived on 5 February from Karachi. The sidebar says Baba's original plan was to travel to Karachi, but this was canceled on is that 3 February 1939, when it was found there was no decent road route and traveling by train would prove too expensive. Baba explained to the women about a must named Kamal Pash, contacted on 6 February. Kamal Pash is on the 5th plane and my real lover. The splendor that surrounds his dirtiness only I can see. Worldly people think him mad, but compared to his high state, the world is mad, and he is sane. Nothing makes me so happy as the sight of these real heroes. The next day, Baba and the group left Delhi for Ajmer via Alwar, where they stayed in a dak bungalow, and photos were taken of Baba with a newborn goat that was running loose. On the 8th, as they traveled through Jaipur, Baba suddenly stopped the bus and had them get out. When we got down from the bus, Mani recounted, Baba stood by a parapet. There was a little dip of a valley, and beyond it, a hill with the amber palace on it. Could you scroll down, please, Tien? We stood next to Baba. As we were looking, we saw uniformed English bandsmen playing bagpipes, the usual thing, red, white, and gold uniforms, pompousness, color. The sight filled our eyes and minds to the distraction of everything else. They were going up to the palace to receive the Viceroy of India. Baba suddenly brought out the alphabet board and said, "You think he, in parentheses, the Viceroy, is in charge of Jaipur." Pointing to the right on a dusty hill, he continued, "No, he is in charge." We couldn't see a thing. We looked hard, and sure enough, we saw a lone figure coming down the hill. The man had merged with the dusty brown of the desolate hillside. He wore very little. He had sort of curly hair. He was gently, silently coming down the hill. "He is in charge," Baba repeated. This was, of course, the great Nanga Baba, whom Baba had indicated was his quote-unquote agent in charge of Jaipur. Mani added, Baba was like a magician. With one hand, he was showing us the trick, the colors, the showy part of it. Everybody was looking. Actually, silently, with the left hand, he was doing the real thing. A few years later, Erich was sent to contact the man. 2 or 3 days, Baba worked with him. It's sort of a non sequitur. A few years later, Erich was sent to contact the man. 2 or 3 days, Baba worked with him. Oh, maybe 2 or 3 years later. I mean, a few years later.
He worked with him. He worked with him 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 or 3 days, but a few years later.
Yeah, correct. Excellent,
Yeah.
Roa. Okay. Here's a good spot for Tina to read.
Where are you?
Irene described.
Irene described a similar contact along the way. We were driving on the bus on a little lane, going up a mountain. I was always keeping an eye on Baba, not staring, but with half-closed eyes. I loved to watch him and found his hand movements so interesting. I was sitting on the right side. Baba was in the front, on the first row behind the closed cabin where Elizabeth and the Mandali were. From a distance, I saw a tall, dark man with just a little loincloth, very slender. His age was around 30. When the bus passed him, it suddenly slowed down. I don't know, perhaps Baba had knocked to signal the driver to slow down. I saw Baba's eyes flashing. The man turned his head. It was as if you could see an electric current going by. Just for a few seconds. Afterwards, Baba explained that this was one of his agents in the area. At another time, while traveling with Baba, the woman saw Mastani from afar, but they did not get down to look more closely. However, when they saw another one in her early 20s sitting on the sidewalk of the main thoroughfare, Baba stopped the car and told the woman to look at her, informing them she is a very good Mastani. When they arrived in Ajmer on February 8th for a 22-day stay, they occupied a bungalow Erich had rented from a banker that had electric lights and indoor plumbing, a welcome change. Duncan described the house, a compact little house with snowy white walls and a flat roof. Was hired for Baba's stay. This banker's house in Ajmer was not, in fact, an elaborate mansion, but it was simple, clean, and cool, and perhaps rather small for the group staying with Baba. And that was from the Wayfarers in page 107. Mehera, too, remembered in great detail the particular features of every house, hotel, and bungalow she stayed at during the different tours. How? Because most of the time, she and the other women remained confined inside them. Helen sat on the terrace of the banker's house and sketched scenes of buffaloes and Indian women in a sketchbook she carried on the journey. In Ajmer, Mehera again cooked for Baba. The facilities were convenient for Baba's work with Mus too, since he was now having them brought to him to feed and bathe rather than going out to contact them. Rano and Elizabeth for the first time began assisting Baba with contacting the Mus, as Elizabeth described in the August 1939 Meher Baba journal. Two of the household were assigned to the more strenuous tasks, for which one of them was to prepare food for any number of strange souls who might come to Baba at any hour of the day, and for the other to prepare hot water over the charcoal burners in large quantities and be able to carry it herself in large quantities. What strange interweavings of fate Baba brings about. For example, here were two Western women, one from London and the other from New York, serving spiritually advanced souls in the East in such an arduous fashion. It says on the sidebar, years later, Mani discovered Helen Dam's sketchbook in a cupboard at Mehera-Meher and sent it to a museum in Switzerland. Baba divested the women of their extra towels, blankets, shawls, and shawls to pass along to the mosque. Lakan Shah, a six-plane must of saintly mien, expressive hands, and a melodious singing voice, was given a fine peacock blue woolen shawl. Cha-Cha, a seven-plane must, and one of Baba's favorites, was also brought. Mehera did not see Cha-Cha at this time, but she did see one or two of the other musts leaving in a tonga, which did not violate Mehera's orders about seeing men, since musts, like young male children, are so pure of heart. In addition, Baba took the women to the tune of Khwaja Sahib Chishti, whom Baba always spoke very highly of whom Baba always spoke very highly. Sufis call him God, and he was God. Baba stated. Don recounted, Ajmer lies in the Aravalli Hills and is a dusty, sun-steeped town. Although it has no particular commercial importance, it is renowned in India for the shrine of Khwaja Moinuddin.
Moinuddin. It's Moinuddin Chisti.
Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti.
Yeah.
The perfect master and head of the spiritual hierarchy of his age.
Wow.
The spiritual influence of this man is said to have made more converts to Islam in India than any other forcible conversion at the point of a sword. And for this reason, Ajmer is a spiritual center and a place of pilgrimage.
Wow.
In fact, Ajmer is considered to the most sacred of all Muslim places in India. Therefore, it was not entirely coincidental that Cha-Cha lived in a hovel near Chisti's tomb, which is located at the foot of a barren hill. The Westerners were not permitted inside it, as the area is considered too sacred to be approached by anyone except Muslims. Mehera surmised that the priests had an aversion to people who ate pigs, as so some Westerners were wont to do. Rosalie, do you want to take over?
If you want, I can take over.
Okay.
Oh, or unless Rosalie wants to do it.
I don't know. Maybe she stepped away.
No, I'm here, but Eva can continue. Remember, she was.
Sure. Baba held Mehera's hand as they entered a gigantic arched white gateway to a spacious courtyard. Chisti's tomb, under a domed marble chamber in the center of a second courtyard, had dual entrances, one made entirely of silver and is surrounded by silver railings and a silver platform. Still holding Mehera's hand, Baba circled the square, white marble tomb only once in Prada Ashina. Mehera bowed towards the tomb. Mehera bowed towards the tomb along with Baba and the others, but they did not put their heads on it as is customarily done. Then Baba showed them the spot where Khwaja Sahib often sat. According to legend, his enemies tried to kill him by rolling a boulder on him, but when the saint raised two of his fingers, it stopped midway. The boulder is still there, perched in a precarious position. Afterwards, Baba took them to the fort of Taragar on a nearby hill. At first, Baba had complained of doing so because of the trouble and expense of hiring palanquins for Naja, Nani, and Elizabeth, who could not make the steep 1.5-hour climb. But when Kitty and Rano suggested that he did not have to go through all this for their sakes, they would willingly stay home. Baba revealed that not only was he taking them sightseeing for their pleasure and spiritual benefit, but more importantly, he was doing his own essential work through them. If you think I'm doing this for you, you are mistaken. My work comes first, you are secondary. What care do I have for expenses where my work is concerned? Money, you, and everything else are secondary to my work. And I'll read the sidebar since it's there. Tanagar Fort was the site of the military activity during the Mughal period and later used by the British as a sanatorium. On the highest point of Taragar Fort stands the tomb of Hazrat Minan, Saeed Hussain, a governor of Ajmer who, along with his entire garrison, was massacred in 1210. At the tomb, located in a mosque, an elderly caretaker narrated the story of the martyr, and the women noticed young girls putting henna handprints on the walls outside the tomb. The caretaker explained that the girls were brides who considered this act auspicious for their marriages, since Miran Hussain was supposed to have married but never did. Local people consider him to be a saint, though Baba did not comment on it. Baba did indicate that by going to such tombs and shrines, he was cleaning out the tangled sanskaras that had accumulated over the centuries from the multitudes who were drawn there. At another time, Baba remarked, "True sanctity does not lie in the dead walls of brick and stone, or even in the waters of the sacred rivers, but in the living beings who fill the environment with the fire of their devotion, love, and worship, and in the great spiritual forces released by the masters during their stay there." Other places of interest that Baba visited with the women in and around Ajmer include Anna Sagar Lake, Pushkar Lake, a sacred spot for Hindus, the Hindu temple of Lakshmi, and a Jain temple. Baba's 45th birthday was observed on Wednesday, 15 February. but only by Baba bathing, feeding, and clothing 20 musts and destitute men, which Baba declared was an excellent celebration and wished he could do every day. Do you want me to keep reading, Tina? Since
I
it's
think not. Yeah, I think it's after 3. I'll make a note of that. 476.
Yeah. That was quite a reading, I have to say.
Okay.
Are you still recording?
Yes.